So the other day I was up late, just a casual Sunday at the start of summer. I didn't have work the day after, so I stayed up all night working on some other projects. I wanted some lively second monitor content while I was doing some programming, and I saw that someone I followed a while ago was live on Twitch, and she was playing Majora's Mask, one of my favourite games, for the very first time. Naturally, I hopped in the chat, said hi and all that stuff, and I watched for a little bit, and got told off for backseating and the walk fight just a little bit too much. Apologies for that again if you're watching, but watching someone new conquer the Great Bay Temple was really interesting to watch. Seeing a new player that had most likely had the Switch line of games as their entry point to the series attempt a game as brutal as Majora's Mask was really exciting and intriguing. I had to go for a little bit, so I left the chat, and just before I left I said, good luck with Gyorg. And for the next hour I was thinking about this player experiencing the beauty of this game for the first time, and how cool that must have been. Roughly an hour or so later, I hopped back in and saw her fighting Gyorg. The smile that was on her face had completely gone, and she was frustrated. As she started saying how the swimming with the Majora Mask was stupid and didn't do what she wanted from the moment she unlocked it, she said the boss was dumb and unfair, and every time Gyorg sent her back to the starting room of Great Bay, there was more talk about how stupid the game is. Even the school chillers on the Walk of Shame back to the boss room were taunting her. It was really unfortunate to watch.
If the swimming mechanics were not asked.
And this answered a question that I've been asking for a while now, and it makes so much more sense. If a person can be so enthralled with the concept of Majora's Mask and in love with the Zelda franchise at the same time, then why haven't they played Majora's Mask? Now before I go on, I need to state that this is not at all any hate towards the streamer. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Watching Karina play and observing her attitudes towards the game whilst trying to link up whatever was happening on screen was really fun. And again, it answered a few questions about the connection between MM and the player. And the questions it didn't answer, it definitely got me thinking about. It was a very thought-provoking experience. So with that in mind, this video wouldn't exist without Karina and her stream. So thank you to Karina if you're watching, and to anyone else, I'll leave a link to Karina's stream in the description of this video. Give her a follow and mention that I sent you. Don't be mean as well. Don't be mean or rude, just be chill, be nice. Anyway, back to the video. Karina's experience with the game isn't unique. Make no mistake, Majora's Mask is a very tough game. It's often coupled with Ocarina of Time because they were released for the same console, and released not too far apart from each other. But if you compare Ocarina of Time to Wind Waker, since those two games released before and after Majora's Mask, you'll really see just how different they are. Especially Wind Waker, with the full power of the GameCube and a completely different approach to style and thematics. Majora's Mask also reuses a lot of assets from Ocarina of Time, including NPCs, textures, models and mechanics, but they are fundamentally different games. You can view OOT as like the entry level experience. The barrier to entry for OOT is much lower. You get thrown into a calm environment, being Kokiri Forest, and the challenges presented in front of you are laid out quite simply. Majora's Mask immediately strips you of everything you know. There's no sword or shield, and there's a new propeller glider in the form of the Deku Mask. Your only task is to get back to your old self as soon as possible, and no part of that's made easy for you, or explained to you at all. There's a necessity to explore and learn in Majora's Mask, which already sets it apart from OOT in my opinion, and leaves the impression that the game's going to be unforgiving and challenging. Instead of just getting money to buy a shield and then finding a sword from a chest in a very small fenced off area, you have to go and find the fairy to get your magic bar, and then you have to get a passcode to enter a secret part of town, just to get an item and then trade it with a merchant. And even then you have to wait till the final day to glide up to the top of the clock tower and face Skull Kid. Majora's Mask is a sine wave, with the lowest point injecting you with feelings of disappointment, anger and rage, as we can see with Karina. But the highest points bless you with feelings of accomplishment, relief and progress. The same can be said for so many other games. Games that are made to test your patience and skill and reward you handsomely for eventually overcoming the challenges they present you with. Celeste is a good example of this. Okay, so the game is hard, we've established that. It also doesn't like to give you hints or tell you where to go. So why don't people like it? Well, truth be told, Gyorg isn't the only problematic roadblock for the average player. But before we move on, let's talk about the Gyorg fight and actually provide some context. The Great Bay Temple is the third and penultimate temple in the game. Prior to this, the player has beaten the Woodfall Temple and the Snowhead Temple, in addition to maybe obtaining a few key items. The lead up to Great Bay involves the player retrieving Zora eggs, because a member of the Zora band has her eggs stolen, and consequently loses her voice and falls into a deep pit of depression. Retrieving these Zora eggs involves invading a Gerudo pirate fortress, which provides you with the hookshot as well. And after retrieving all of the eggs, the player learns a song that can be used to access the Great Bay Temple. The temple itself is a masterpiece. It's nowhere near as intolerable as people say the water temple is in OOT, but I'm also quite okay with that one, so I don't really know where I stand on this, to be honest. The puzzles though are really unique, it makes good use of the hook shot, and the dungeon item rewarded is the ice arrow, which also leads into a bunch of physics puzzles that utilise freezing and thawing water and ice. And then right at the end of the temple, there's this little fucking fish. This guy is an absolute nightmare. Adolwa in Woodfall was pretty underwhelming for a first boss, you kind of just hit him and he dies. Goat is really fun, but again he's not really hard at all, you just chase him in a circle and the fight's over as fast as it starts. It's still an incredibly good fight, but Gyorg just sucks. You have to shoot him with arrows until he gets stunned, then you put on the Majora Mask, jump in the water and take a stab at him. Do this a few times and he's dead. The reason the fight is so problematic is because Gyorg likes to bite you, and when he bites you, he nukes your health bar. You have to make use of empowered swimming to actually deal damage to him, which uses magic. Magic refills exist, but they are, of course, in the corner of the arena right at the bottom of the water. More time in the water means more time for Gyorg to bite you. Couple this with how clunky the Majora Mask swimming can feel at times, when you try to stop on a dime or turn quick, and you have a recipe for utter disaster. The only solid bit of design I can really see about the fight, and the only real counterplay the player has to Gyorg, is when he headbutts the raised platform you start on. See, Gyorg will occasionally slam into this in an effort to knock you off and into biting range, but it has an audio cue, and that can be quickly taken advantage of by the player if they pick up on it. You hear that he's about to slam, so you get ready to do a backflip. If you backflip in time, you don't get stunned, and then you can shoot an arrow at him to eventually do some damage. It's the only real strategy you can deploy against the boss besides spending as little time in the water as possible, which is also quite hard when you have to enter the water to damage him. You see the problem. Then there are two external factors that come into play during the fight that only serve to set the player back even further. The first is the time mechanic that Majora Mask uses. Remember, you've just completed an entire temple. That can take some time, and depending on how efficient you are. There's also a very good chance that a true blind playthrough is completely oblivious to the inverted Song of Time, which gives you a tremendous time increase, making it feel way less stressful and more manageable. Without the inverted Song of Time, there's a very good chance that new players won't get to the end of the dungeon with enough time left to beat the boss if they wipe to it a couple of times. And then of course, the cycle resets and they have to complete Great Bait all over again. And at which point they'd probably just quit. And I mean, I would too. The second external factor is the lack of max health. If you haven't completed many side quests, then you probably have around 5 or 6 hearts. Gyorg's bite alone deals 2, and leaves you in the water right next to him just for him to do it again. So a lack of health can be really troubling. Without a couple of bottled fairies, the fight becomes nearly impossible if you're a new player and maybe you've not had the most fun swimming so you've not tried it out too much. There's also a good chance that players don't even get that far. I know a good few people that really, and I mean they really wanted to get into Majora's Mask. Like they've seen a few videos on it and they thought, wow, this is cool. Or they've seen like Margin Phil or ZFG and they're like, wow, I've played loads of OOT, I want to play Majora's Mask. And they quit about 30 minutes in before they even leave Clock Town. I'd imagine it's probably just because they get bored, or maybe took a step back and thought, yeah, this game isn't for me, I don't really know where I'm going or what I'm doing. Those that obviously do get to Great Bay though have beaten Snowhead, and they've had the reward from the mental sine wave of seeing the mountains in spring. And just to reiterate in case I'm not fully explaining myself, these friends that I've got that really wanted to play Majora's Mask often have minimal interest in Zelda. They've never really played the games, maybe Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, but they're somehow tranced by Majora's Mask, as if the mask is almost calling out to them, which is quite funny when I say it out loud. But seeing how happy and excited Karina got when she finally beat this goofy fish made me sit back in my chair and smile. I felt really happy knowing how close she was to giving up and how she kept throwing herself at this really unfair boss, because it was that, or restart and complete the entire temple all over again. But to quickly wrap this one up, go and play Majora's Mask if you haven't already. If you have played it, and maybe agree or disagree with anything I've said, then just drop a comment about it and I'll get back to you. Anyway, my name's Flynny, and this has been a video on the challenges of Majora's Mask. Thank you for watching and take care.
Is that it?
There we go. The boss is dead.
That has to be phase 1. Is that it?
Look how happy she is now.
Oh my god. Dude, I didn't even need the second heart. You two lend us your power. If you just leave things as they are, something terrible will happen to the world. You're gonna make a video? That's the reason why. Thanks for stream. Thank you so much. Yeah, you can. Flynny, if you want to include my crash out, feel free.